Hello and welcome back to Spanish Animation. I'm your host, Dennis Bithoulkas, and it's another episode of Is It Worth My Time? This time I take on Artemis Fowl. So let me take care of a little bit of business first, and I'll get into the non-spoiler version. Then I'll go into the spoiler version. So if you like what you see, like, share, and subscribe. If you're still on the fence about subscribing, take a look at the video at the very end here. If you basically what YouTube does, takes the algorithms of all the stuff you've been watching and tries to match it as best as possible to one of the videos in my vast video library and pops it up there just for you. Up there is going to be Stargirl is what's going to pop up there. And if you want to know when I'm going to be on live again next, you get the bell down below. It's a 50-50 chance of YouTube actually notifying you. Best thing to do is go to suspendedfanimation.com. Take a look at my schedule that's up there. I post it every week. And I also have all the links to all my social media up there. So Twitter, Instagram, Patreon, no tiers set up as a on the Patreon page. And there's also links to my Facebook page and Facebook group page. So the Facebook group page, you can actually post stuff on there and talk amongst yourselves. So it's always a good thing. So let's get to it, shall we? The non-spoiler version of Artemis Fowl. Is it worth your time? No, it's not. So there's a reason why Disney, this is originally supposed to be a theater release, of course. And instead, because of the pandemic that's going on and theaters being closed and all this stuff, that Disney decided to put it out on Disney Plus. Um, Honestly, it was a good move on their part putting it on Disney Plus because it was not worth a theatrical release at all. Um, I don't even know if kids are going to be excited about this thing, to tell you the truth. I know it's based on a series of books. I've never read the books. I understand I am not the demographic that this is aimed towards. It's aimed towards kids, but at the same time, there was no world building on this. And the thing is, this movie actually has a pedigree, if you will. Kenneth Branagh is the director. Of course, you know who Kenneth Branagh is. He did the first Thor movie as well as numerous Shakespeare movies. So one of my favorite, of course, being Hamlet that he did back in the 90s, where he actually played Hamlet. And great movie. It's 4.5 hours long, but it's worth it. It really is. Your internet's lagging. So yeah, sorry, Pen. I think mine might be a little bit as well. So I had to stop a few things. I was doing some updates and I had to stop those. Updates, I should say, on other programs. Um, Also, Judy Dench, of course, damn Judy Dench is in this movie as well. And Colin Farrell is also in this movie as well. And you would think with that kind of pedigree of director, actors, there would be some more character building, any character building, uh, some basically what they were trying to market this thing was James Bond meets fairies is what they were trying to market this as. And it really does not sell itself as at all. Josh Gad is also in this too. That is not a selling point, quite honestly, to anyone. And there's a good reason for that. Yeah. And his character is more embarrassing than anything else. And yeah, I'll go into that in the spoiler version, but yeah. And essentially there's no um I guess you could say gravitas as to the situation that's happening. It's not even really a good children's story because there's no danger involved in any of this. You're never really introduced to the characters well. Um, you never go anyplace. You see a lot of pretty things, but you never leave this one location where everything happens. I mean, sure, there's two other scenes or two other places that they show you briefly, but not enough to really find that this is supposed to be this world hopping adventure that they are initially advertising it as. This is what I'm trying to say without going into the spoilers yet, and I will go into the spoilers later on. Um, and like I said, the MacGuffin kind of reminded me of, so they're trying to find something called the Oculus, is what it's called. And the only thing I could think of later on that it reminded me of was from Dude, Where's My Car, the Continuum Transfunctioner, which is a very mysterious and powerful device, and its mystery is only exceeded by its power. For those of you who know what that movie is, and yeah, that's essentially the Oculus in a nutshell. And so you never really feel that any of the characters are any danger at all, and i- there's a lot of too many easy outs on this. So it's essentially it's just a bad movie all the way around. I mean, there really is a really, really bad movie in this, and from what I understand, the books are supposed to be very exciting, and supposedly this is nothing like the books from what I understand, that, this is as botched as, Percy Jackson as the Percy Jackson, movies were with those books, which now they're doing a series so they can fix all those mistakes, and the author of the books is actually producer, I guess, on that series. So that's yeah. So yeah, it's not worth your time. If your kids are begging to go and see it, put it on for them. That's pretty much all I say, and just walk out of the room because they might like it, but it's fairly soulless, is what it is. And I can't remember a good movie that Colin Farrell's been in recently, to tell you the truth. And I was having a hard time. I didn't even look up on IMDb what else he's been in recently, but, yeah, I can't think of any movies that I've seen him in recently that I've said, "Oh, yeah, Colin Farrell's in this really good movie, I can recommend this." So, obviously, he's getting a paycheck. He did this for a paycheck, so did Judi Dench, you can tell. She kinda looks like she's suffering through it, yeah, I mean, and she kinda growls her lines, so does Josh Gad, he kinda growls his lines more than anything else, and it's painful to watch. That's yeah, needless to say. So with that said, spoiler alert, I am going to spoil the rest of this movie. If you have not seen the movie, turn away. Don't go and watch the movie, or do it if you really want to. It's up to you. You can come on back. This will be a video. You can comment down below in the comment section. Thank you, Viking Bitch, for the paddle. Um, yeah. So I mean, everything from the start of this show, where you have Josh Gad, who is supposed to be a dwarf, who is a giant dwarf. Um, and dwarfs can tunnel, is what they're supposed to do. They actually eat dirt and shit it out the back. I kid you not. So there's a couple of scenes where he has to dig, and you see him open up his jaw, of course, CGI wise, start shoveling dirt, and his trousers drop only to the underwear because you can't see ass on Disney, of course, and dirt comes flying out from underneath from his underwear. If that alone tells you what kind of movie you're dealing with, there you go. Yeah, exactly. Oh my god is right, Pen. That is exactly it right there. Um, the fairy world also has trolls too, so they live near the center of the earth. They are highly technologically advanced, all this kind of stuff, and they can. The reason why they haven't been caught is because they can freeze time in certain locations with technology that they have. Again, a MacGuffin that they have. It's pretty bad. And the Oculus, of course, um, Colin Farrell, who plays the Elder Fowl, is supposed to be this master thief, and he's the one, of course, who supposedly has stolen it, but he hasn't. He worked with another fairy in order to protect it from the fairies for some unexplained reason. It's never explained why, other than there's a bad fairy that is after it, which we are never told who that fairy really is. We just get a name, but we never see a face. Yeah, I should get hazard pay for watching this piece of shit. Um, And at one point, I was actually hoping that they were going to say that Artemis was his mom, was the evil fairy was actually his mom, because his mom is not mentioned at all in any of this. And supposedly the Oculus can only be used by fairies because it will kill a human. And the first thing I was thinking of is that Artemis is part fairy. His mom is actually a fairy, while his dad is human, and he can actually use the Oculus. Not the case. At least, who knows? But yeah, basically the Oculus gets his dad. So his dad has been kidnapped. He has to get the Oculus from wherever it's hiding at. And so he never leaves the house. I shit you not. Artemis Fowl never leaves the house. He brings the fairies to him, who in turn bring in the dwarf, Josh Gad's character, who is last name is Diggum. His first name is Mulch. Mulch Diggum. I can't make this shit up, really. It's really bad. Because also dwarves have if you tell them there's a treasure or something like that, they will try and find it. And of course, he finds the safe that is hidden in his dad's house that actually has the Oculus, and he uses his beard and the hairs on his head to go in and take care of the tumblers inside the safe. It's honestly, it's got some of the stupidest stuff in it that I can ever imagine. Um, God, but yeah, they never really set up the characters at all, so you never get a reason of why this is happening, why the Oculus is dangerous, other than it's a MacGuffin that can do anything. I guess they never really tell you what its limitations are. Um, they never tell you the motivation of the evil fairy of why they want this or what it can do to the fairy kingdom. Um, uh, other than it can wreak havoc on the world. That's all we know. That it can kill people. Okay, so can a lot of things. So yeah, it was very poorly written and very poorly executed. So is it worth your time? Hell no. It's pretty. I mean, they did a lot of work on the CGI for the fairy world and all that kind of stuff. The prison, Howler's Peak, and all that stuff, where Josh Gad's character, Mulch Diggums, is supposed to be held at. He's sentenced to 400 and some odd years or something like that. Doesn't really look like much of a prison. It was very, very. That was where they saved on some of the animation for that. Quite honestly, it was. I was looking at it going, did they finish the scene on this? Because as the camera's kind of flying in to Howler's Peak, it just basically looks like a little molten, core of river, down below, and then some rocks, and then a couple of cages. And I'm like, that doesn't look too bad. I mean, the way they were making it sound was like it was this, a place that was very, very deadly and everything. And it's like, no, they're sitting around in bathrobes, essentially chilling out. That's all they're doing in their cells. So yeah, it didn't really feel like there was any kind of harrowing danger to that place at all. And yeah, I mean, the only thing that you do have is that the bodyguard butler uh, ends up getting squashed by a gigantic troll, and he's gonna die. But they have so fairies can actually do magic and can save humans and whatnot. So they can also throw what is it, a magic containment field over an area so magic can't be used. Again, a MacGuffin. And they've done this over the Artemis Fowl house so that the fairy inside cannot use magic to help them. Anyway, needless to say, she ends up saving Butler and using magic. And like I said, there are no real stakes involved. So at no point do you feel any of the characters are in danger. Um, you don't know why they need this, why this thing is important. The Oculus is important. Again, like I said, it's a very mysterious and powerful device, and its mystery is only exceeded by its power. So there you have it. It's not worth your time. And that's the reason why Disney, said, you know what? Fuck it. We're just going to put it out on our streaming service because it's not going to make any money in the theater anyway. We're not going to do VOD because it's not going to make any money either. Yeah, with good reason. Um, I don't know if Kenneth Branagh was just put in a position that there was shit that he couldn't do with it or what, but It was just badly done, and like I said, Judi Dench, Colin Farrell, they looked like they were just in it for a paycheck. Josh Gad actually tries, but again, it's Josh Gad. Um, so the less said about him, the better. He actually is narrating the entire story because he's supposed to be in a prison, a human prison by MI6 or MI5. I don't know what it is, and he's being interrogated, and he's telling this whole story about fairies and trolls and all this stuff. And then, of course, they don't believe him until he at the very end where he breaks out with Artemis's help, and they are going off to save the world or something like that. I don't know exactly at the end. Just didn't make much sense. Yeah. Well, at least Dennis has New Mutants to look forward to. That's not until October, Keith. That's October is when New Mutants comes out. Yeah, I have Bill and Ted Face the Music. That I think is going to be the next kind of semi big release, and that's going to be in August. And I might brave the theaters for that one, depending on how this pandemic pans out here. Because quite honestly, if people are doing the same shit that they're doing right now, where they're not, wearing face masks and they're going out and partying and shit like nothing matters, then fuck all. I ain't doing that. You know. Yeah, Regal Cinemas over here is saying, "Oh yeah, we're gonna be open July 10th." Fuck you. I've been to your theaters. I know the type of, patrons that go to your theaters, and I want nothing to do with it because none of them are going to be wearing masks. And they're going to be fucking having their cell phone cameras out and taking pictures with the fucking flash of the screen. I shit you not, that actually does happen. Happened in one of the movies I was watching. I was watching Into the Spider-Verse. Some motherfucker's taking pictures of the screen with a flash with his cell phone in the movie. There. It's out of my system. So what else do I have going on this week? Tomorrow and Thursday, I'm off. Friday is going to be Harley Quinn. It's the penultimate episode of season 2 of Harley Quinn. Saturday is Saturday Morning Blast Off, where I take the genre news of the week and any other genre stuff you guys want to talk about and talk about it. And Sunday, I'm going to be off. Monday is Stargirl. Tuesday is another episode of Is It Worth My Time? I haven't figured out what I'm going to do yet. And then, of course, next week, we're going to get dun, 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 Doom Patrol comes back on Thursday, the 25th. And yes, I will be covering Doom Patrol. It got a 9% on Rotten Tomatoes. That's a little too high, Philip Ademic. It needs to have a negative 9%. That's where it needs to be. It's really bad. I mean, I was sitting there with my jaw dropped open, just kind of going, Kenneth Branagh directed this? Really? I mean, he did this, right? Yeah. Yeah, and I think the only reason why they hired Colin Farrell was because he had an Irish accent. So the kid who plays Artemis Fowl, the main character, is the most soulless little fucker I've ever seen. I mean, whew, man, he just kind of brought chills to me whenever they showed him, because it was like he had no soul. You could see it in his eyes. He should be in a horror movie, is really what he should be. But he has an English accent, supposedly. He's been growing, he's lived in Ireland all his life, yet he's got an English accent. And yet Colin Farrell, who actually does have an Irish accent, has the he's lost a lot of his Irish accent over the years, and I guess he kind of went back to it a little bit for this, but it's few and far in between, But that's just a nitpicky of a really bad movie that's already got a lot of shit to do anyway. But yeah, just avoid it. There's plenty of other things on Disney Plus you can watch that are much, much better. And yeah, this is not one of them. This one you can avoid. I highly suggest you watch the Disney, what is it called? Masters series, the one that they go through the behind the scenes of The Mandalorian. They just released episode 7 recently, and it's about the musical score, which is really fucking good. That whole thing, I mean, everything about it is good, that entire series. And if you haven't watched that, I highly recommend that. Hell, I even thought about covering at one point. But how do I cover a behind the scenes of a sci-fi show? It wasn't going to work out. But it did cross my mind briefly. So so I'm gonna let you guys go for the night. Thank you to everybody who joined me tonight in the chat, and thank you if you made it this far in the video. And again, if you like what you see, like, share, and subscribe. If you're still on the fence about subscribing, take a look at the video that pops up here at the end. If you like that, hit the subscribe button. And if you want to know when I'm going to be on live again next, hit the bell down below. It's a 50-50 chance of YouTube actually notifying you. Best thing to do is go to suspendedfanimation.com. Take a look at the schedule up there. I change it out every week. I also mirrored it on my Facebook page as well. And if you go to suspendedfanimation.com, you can take a look at the links to all my social media. So Twitter, Instagram, and Patreon. And also all the links to Facebook and YouTube and all that kind of stuff are on there as well. So thanks, everybody. I'm gonna let you guys go. I will see you again on Friday for Harley Quinn. So until then, remember, don't let the door hit your ass on the way out. Otherwise, you may wind up in a really bad Disney movie that just goes straight to a streaming service. And quite honestly, you really don't want to do that. Thanks, everybody. Have a good night. I will see you on Friday. Stay safe until then, and have a good one. Good night.